Welcome to the Heartbeat Podcast with your host, Mike Sommer, where CIOs get what they won't hear anywhere else. Candid insights, real strategies, and the truth about leading tech in a world that's changing faster than ever.
Today, we're joined by Velu Palani, Vice President and Salesforce IT Service Leader at McKesson, a Fortune 10 company at the forefront of healthcare innovation. Velu leads McKesson's enterprise CRM strategy, modernizing marketing, sales, and customer service with Salesforce solutions powered by AI, automation, and strong data governance. He's also the architect behind the CRM Center for Excellence, driving operational excellence and aligning global teams through a framework-driven approach. With deep experience in strategy, architecture, and team leadership, Velu is redefining how large enterprises deliver seamless, customer-centric experiences. Let's dive into his playbook for scaling CRM, driving adoption, and leading with purpose. Velu, welcome, and thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. I had a chance to read your book, and I just want to say congratulations. That is a massive win to get something published. You're the individual who wrote your forward. I'm really glad to hear that you're able to leverage Capado and your relationship there. Maybe just to start off, what was it like writing and completing a book?
Good question, Mike. The big motivation for me to write the book was giving back to the community. It's like I gained a lot over the years from the community. So what is the best way for you to share what you know? I could write blogs. I can do some videos, which I have done for the last 2-3 years. But putting a comprehensive framework and sharing with community with the true intent of helping the organization to create a framework and follow a framework and then deliver the business outcome. So that is my true motivation and really helped me to focus and then get the product delivered.
Oh, thank you so much for that. So you've led complex CRM transformations at scale. And what initially drew you to the intersection of technology and business strategy? Was there a defining moment that connected you on this path towards IT leadership?
I have been working with the Salesforce ecosystem for the last 25 years. I started in June 2000. I ran a consulting organization. And from day one, I started using Salesforce. It was an accidental, I found it accidentally, the whole platform. So when I looked into the system and used the system as an entrepreneur for sales and service and marketing, I built a consulting business. I was using it for a long time. I ran a sales team, I ran a service team, and I was a tech person before starting my own business. I was a hardcore programmer. So during 15 years of running the business, I built the Salesforce practice and sold it to a large organization. So when I sold that, then I was asked to run the Salesforce practice for this company. Then I started working with very large clients. I realized companies they think that by investing money in the technology, they can grow the business. But invariably, almost all of them, either they wasted the money or they spent the money, but the intention was to invest and grow the business. So then I realized that no, this is not going to work this way. It needs to change. How do I make the investment work? So what I realized, there is a lack of framework. If you think about agile delivery, if you think about HTML standard, project management standards, DevOps standards, for COE, there's no standard, especially on the CRM work. So that actually helped me to think through and get this journey started. That's how this whole COE process started. And that is pretty much where I believe my mind is always there. How can we help leverage the platform to deliver the outcome? That needs to have a framework.
So let me ask you a follow-on question to that. There seems to be 1,000 frameworks for other IT systems. TOGAF, very well-known framework. Why doesn't it work in Salesforce?
Because it's a SaaS platform. And it is not neither a Java platform nor through a PaaS platform. It's a SaaS, software as a service. And the way Salesforce marketed the platform, anybody can do anything in low code, no code environment with a low cost. That's not the case. It is true to some extent, but without a framework, it's like building roads without standards. So people build it faster, people build it wider, and people build it narrower and crooked. But it can take you from point A to point B. But if you have a standard, then it becomes the highways that we have in the US. If you travel across the globe, there are roads have a very limited standards. But if you go from I-90 and I-80 from New York to LA or Boston to Seattle, same standards, same roads, you have a consistency and predictability. So that's what the framework is all about.
One of the things that we get to experience having done this for a few years are lessons from trenches. Those hard fought experiences of whether it's fixing a implementation that has gone completely sideways or working with an organization that is implementing Salesforce for the first time. Do you have any lessons from the trenches that you can look to and point and say, you would recommend avoiding these pitfalls, or here's some things to be aware of for CIOs that may not know the challenges and implications of a platform like Salesforce?
Very good points. When they start an implementation, let's say greenfield implementation, you start building it. So when you say you build, whenever you say build or implement, you're implementing on a foundation. Foundation is the platform. Foundation is the security and compliance and the right talent, right PMO, right DevOps, business continuity. These are all foundational aspects. So when companies build a new system or implement brand new or a greenfield implementation, so they ignore that. They ignore or they are not aware. So that is what they should avoid. So my biggest advice would be, our suggestion to any CIO, before you implement Salesforce, have a framework. Keep the framework always handy. It's like when you want to build a home, would you use handyman to build a house, or would you bring an architect, do a blueprint, and then you all build it? Once you build it, you have the right plumber, right HVAC person. They're all standing by when the things go wrong. That is the kind of approach we should take when it comes to implementing Salesforce. But if it is already implemented, and make sure that you have a framework to address the problems before it happens.
In your opinion, who should own Salesforce? Is it business? Is it IT?
It is two in a box. So I have done research for the last 3-4 years extensively on this particular question. Business funds, IT delivers. So then who owns it? When it comes to the ultimate decision typically it's in the business. But business is pilot, IT is a co-pilot. So can you imagine you can take off a plane without a co-pilot? Or can you land without a pilot? That's exactly how we should look at it.
We've all experienced unexpected twists or challenges in our career. Was one that really helped to shape how you lead today, that has maybe encouraged you to approach a problem differently, or to encourage the teams that you work with differently? Was there something that stands out to you?
Listening to the customer, listening to the needs of the customer. As you are growing and maturing into this field of CRM and the COE, you need to listen to the needs of the people and make sure you help them educate on a framework. Operating without a framework, an operating model, It's a disaster waiting to happen. My answer to your question.
You got into Salesforce almost at the day of inception. I don't know how you were aware that it launched, but with 25 years in the market, you have a deep understanding and you probably have some of the longest tenure experience. In your opinion, is Salesforce for most companies a mature platform? Is it run like an early stage platform? Where would you say maturity is for most organizations?
So it's called it's I would call that a legacy platform run by a bunch of amateurs
Okay.
because it is very long. It has a long history. Because anything over 2 decades in the technology, it's considered legacy. Salesforce is a legacy platform, and it's run by a lot of people who have a limited view on what this platform can do. And even though I've been in the business or using the system for a long time, consult, when I say consult, I do mentoring work and I talk to a lot of COE leaders. I do this outside of work and inside of the work. So I do both. I mentor students and I work with a lot of leaders. What I have learned about this platform, it is evolving and it is changing very fast. What happened 2 years ago really doesn't matter today. What happened a year ago with Salesforce, that doesn't matter today. So then when people sit in a company for 15 years, 20 years, when they started Salesforce, their view and perception doesn't change and it gets narrower and narrower. So that is a big issue in the industry because it's a legacy platform, but it evolves very fast. One of the thought leaders with a very large SI partner in the world, I met with the head of the global practice. He said, if only companies can catch up with the 10% of the innovation Salesforce makes, they will be ahead of any competition in their industry.
That's a great segue. So the next big shift that we're seeing is Salesforce is going all in on AI agents. They are transforming the way they run their own business. They're transforming the way they go to market. In your opinion, what are the foundational items that a company needs to have in place before even embarking on an AI conversation or an AI initiative inside of their business?
Two things. Your foundation should be strong, and then your data should be strong. So when I talk about foundation, you need to have a solid DevOps strategy. You should have a good business continuity, backup, recovery. All those things need to be done because once you put AI, it's like steroids. You're putting everything on steroids. If somebody deletes the data, something happens. If you can't recover the data, because Salesforce only stores the data for 15 days. After that, it's gone. So you got to protect your data. And then you also have to have good security controls. So these are all foundational aspects of the platform. So foundation should be strong. Data should be as clean as possible. Otherwise, you're going into AI. You're basically expediting the problem in a bad way.
When it comes to AI, if you don't have the foundations in place, you shouldn't even be considering it. And what I mean by that is just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. An issue that I've seen oftentimes in Salesforce is things have been overly customized or out of the box functionality has been pushed to the wayside because they're simply going to old business processes and lift and shift them into the platform. And this leads into my next question. What do you believe is holding CIOs back from truly delivering and leveraging the platform as is?
It is the risk aversion because CA was all about ROI and risk. So when I say risk, not necessarily security aspect of it, it is if I invest the money, am I going to get the return? And the number two, knowing what they don't know. In other words, they are not into the trenches on a daily basis with the platform. Number three, companies, any SaaS companies, all these technology companies, they try to be very aggressive in promoting their platform. So that really scares a lot of people. Okay, am I taking the right decision? Am I doing this for the business interest? The change happening outside of the company with the Salesforce platform and the change in which company operates, there's no. Those are the things I have seen the CIOs holding. But some CIOs are pretty bullish. Let's make this happen and let's go change it. There are CIOs do that. But the number one is the risk aversion. Am I taking a big risk here?
So besides adoption metrics, how do you define CRM success when it comes to digital transformation? Are there any criteria you look to? It doesn't have to be KPIs, it could be OKRs, it could be something else, but how do people define success in Salesforce?
Great. So I look at the business outcome with the Salesforce. There are 5 business outcomes that I believe in any company focuses on. Number one is reducing the risk. Using platform like Salesforce, can I reduce the risk in the business? Number two, if I invest in the platform like Salesforce or any CRM, what is my adoption level? I bought it for 100 users. I wanted 60 people use it, or that 2 hours a day. That's not a good adoption. Unless people use it, you won't get the benefit out of it. The third thing is cost of ownership. The license cost keeps going up every year. The only way for people to control the cost, the whole ecosystem, by reducing people. And then all of a sudden, the license cost keeps going. People cost is going up. You can get rid of license because you have a contract, but you can get rid of people. So that balance is a challenge. And finally, the outcome is the NPS, the Net Promoter Score. Internally, within the user community, at the same time, the external customers. Finally, the business growth. So looking at all these things, if someone can explain and demonstrate the value of the platform with these 5 business outcomes, that's how I would look at it. Not the KPI in terms of first call handling, up the time in which closes opportunity. Those are all subset, but the big 5 business outcomes are the key.
So you've led a number of global teams, including the role that you're in now. How do you foster innovation and how do you build a culture that encourages the adoption and use and best practices of the platform?
There's no easy answer. Sometimes you just hall of fame and hall of shame. You got to do both things that, so by having that kind of mindset and then courage to encourage, educate, motivate at the same time, people do what they need to do within a framework. Wherever I work, I always create my own team Salesforce platform. I have my own instance. If I have architects, admins, developers, they are not architects, they are not admins, they are salespeople and service people. That's how they think. So they have to practice what they preach. If I'm going to be a solution architect and I don't have my own account and I don't practice and I don't even use Salesforce as a user, why would I be an architect? So that's my mindset. So the innovation happens within your own team. So that will help eventually to create a framework and put together a small team or across the enterprise to start collecting ideas, prioritize ideas, and implement. So that's how I've done that in the past.
That's really insightful. Thank you. With AI being really the flavor of the day, are there any near-term successes or things that companies can do that you think would be quick wins?
I don't believe in quick wins at all, even though everybody is looking for quick wins. So there are things that can be done quickly. I look at this in 2 angles. One, the development and practitioner community, people who build Salesforce, architects, developers, testers, and so on. That's one persona. The next persona is the end user community. So what companies can do when it comes to AI, build a platform for people to collaborate and deliver faster. For example, Copilot or Einstein GPT. So with the proper AI guidance governance, you can do that quickly. And when it comes to the end user persona, whether it's a sales or service, yeah, I think the AI has been prominent in the last 2 years after GPT came. Everybody started talking about it. It's been there for a long time. So this particular situation, the end user persona, working with the platform companies like Salesforce, you can turn on quickly. So I have done in a place where we went live in about 6 weeks from end to end, buying license, testing it, implementing it, going production in about 7 weeks. So that is very much possible, but it is only possible when you have a good data, good framework, and otherwise you are basically going faster to create more problems.
That's very insightful. Thank you. Shifting gears a little bit, if you could speak to your younger self, what would be the one thing you'd recommend to yourself that you wish you knew when you were younger?
I always think I could have been a little bit more patient in terms of dealing with people. Now I slow down, I listen to people, I understand what is the rationale behind it. So my younger side of it was quick, fast, get things done. Hey, if it doesn't work, move on kind of mindset. So working in a large enterprise, it needs a lot of patience. So that is what I could think of right away.
With things changing as quickly as they are, and with there being an overwhelming amount of information that is available to us on a daily basis, do you have any books, podcasts, series you go to as sources of encouragement or of market awareness? Anything you'd like to share?
I'm a continuous learner. I actually joined postgraduate programs that I like the structured learning. That is where I just completed my AI postgraduate program with the University of Texas. Before that, I went to Northwestern. Before that, I went to DeVry. Then I had my engineering background. I like that long term kind of study, not quick, okay, read a few things and then go figure that out. That's my mindset in terms of learning. One thing that I always found very insightful or interesting for me personally, give back, share your knowledge. So that itself is learning. A lot of times you already know a lot of things because you go to work, long days, talking to a lot of people. If you are not sharing in a concise manner to the external world, that's basically you're not learning. So I believe sharing is also learning. So that's the way I look at it.
I think that's a wonderful way to wrap things up. It's one thing to learn, but by sharing and encouraging and enabling and empowering others is probably one of the best ways to not only grow as a person, but to build up that community around you. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining and for sharing your thoughts. This has been a wonderful interview, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Let's connect again.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care.